comfortable seated position. You can prop the hips up, get yourself settled. Take a few moments to connect with the physical body and your breath. So as you get settled in, you can work the mudra, you can have the eyes closed, open. Either way, let the eyes rest at one point. And start to pay attention to how your body is responding to the breath. So start to pay more attention to how the body is responding to the breath, both on the inhale and the exhale. And this could entail becoming more sensitive to the physical sensation of the breath, moving through the nose or the throat. It could be how the rib cage is moving. Take your attention all the way around your torso. So we oftentimes bring a lot more focus to the front of our body, but also start to bring some attention to the back of the body. Notice any unnecessary tension you can let go of when you breathe out. Maybe the hips feel more settled, or the legs relax more, or the jaw softens. And allow yourself to really be conscious about being in one place. So be conscious of being in one place. Just in this moment, with your body, with your breath. Just take a few more breaths with that awareness or intention. And stay mindful of the breath and any sensations in your body. Start to bring some attention now to your intention for class. And this could be something you'd like to manifest in terms of your health or well-being, a spiritual aspiration you have within your own heart. As you continue to focus on that intention, take the next 3 breaths with awareness at the heart center, right behind the sternum. Bring the palms together in front of the heart center. We ask and trust that our practice today supports this intention and moves it towards its fullest expression. We'll chant Hare Om 3 times together. Inhale. Let's go ahead and either sit in your cross-legged seated position if that's comfortable. If you want to move into Vajrasana, you can move into Vajrasana, sitting on your heels. We'll be doing Kapha Pacifying to start off. Wake up the lungs and all the abdominal organs. And once you get situated in whatever seated position you're in, just make sure you can sit up tall. You'll be working with 2 different mudras. You have Kali Mudra, which a lot of you are familiar with. First finger and thumb pointing straight up. And then we'll be working with Sampati Mudra. And remember, this is a mudra that we're doing within the skull. Eyes are closed. You can do it also with the eyes open if you feel like the eyes wander a lot, but you can have the eyes closed, keep the eyes closed, and gaze up in between your eyebrows. And that'll be during the breathing technique. And we're going to be doing 3 rounds, about 45 seconds each round. Remember, if there's any dizziness, stop the practice immediately. If you're pregnant, have abdominal surgery in the last 6 months, and or have heart conditions, this is a no-no for you. So you go ahead and take deep, full breaths with all the mudras that we're working with, but no fast breathing. So once the arms are up alongside the ears, you'll feel a little throat lock, chin tuck there. Just let that happen naturally. Close your eyes, gaze up in between the eyebrows, and we'll begin. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, relax your eyes. Take the arms down. Keep Kali Mudra. Place it in front of the heart center. Take a few moments for observation. Notice the condition of your mind. Notice your breathing pattern. And take the arms up. Sambhavi Mudra, and begin the second round. Deep breath in. Slowly lower the arms down. Relax your eyes. A few resting breaths here. If you're continuing to refine this breathing technique, pay a little more attention to the deep lower abdominal muscles. See if you can get more of that pulsation, that engagement in the deep abdominal muscles, kind of like above or behind the pubic bone. And also see if you can get more relaxation in the abdominal wall to allow the breath to come in. So working on those two things can elevate the practice, make it a little more potent. So consider those two things if you're starting to refine the practice. Then we'll take the arms back up, take some Sambhavi Mudra, and begin the third and final round. Begin. Inhale, and we'll exhale. Kali Mudra in front of the heart center. Relax your eyes, relax your shoulders. Free breathing here. Tap into any sensations within your body. And then we'll slowly open the eyes, release the mudra, and we'll set up for downward facing dog next. Legs back, root through those fingertips. We're taking the hips back and up. feels good to do a little movement with the legs, bending one knee and pressing through opposite heel. Do that. Shifting. Start regulating your breath, so you're taking more about a 5-second breath in, 5-second breath out. Longer breaths if they're comfortable for you. Feel natural. We're going to come into the top of a push-up. Full minute here. Bring the knees down if you need to. Use your forearms instead of your palms if you have any wrist issues. Still regulating the breath. Being aware of all these core stabilizing muscles in the shoulder girdle, rib cage, navel, and hips. Sure, not tightening up the jaw. Sure, muscles around the eyes are soft. Neck feels neutral. The knees are up. Legs are pretty charged up. Keep going about 15 more seconds. You can do it. I believe in you. 5 more seconds. Alright. Knees down, hips back. Rest in child's pose. Keep those arms stretched out in front. A little stretch in the sideline of the body. Relax the shoulders once you relax the neck muscles. Make sure the knees are wide enough so they can feel the navel expanding. Feel a little compression there on the sides of the abdominal walls. Give yourself a little massage. Large intestine. And then we'll lift the heart and head up. We're going to set up in tabletop pose for a simple spinal wave. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. And once you have that set up, tip the tailbone, chest, and head up. Take a full breath in here in this shape and leave the head up. As you exhale, you start to tuck the tailbone first. Feel lower, middle, upper back move, and relax the neck at the end. Then keep your head heavy. Tip tailbone up. Follow that wave-like motion up the spine until the head lifts up last, broadening the collarbones. And that's one full round. We're going to continue with that. Remember, for some of us, this feels a little choppy sometimes at the beginning. If you feel like you're one of the, you kind of have a tendency to try to do things really perfect in your asana practice, I'm going to encourage you to loosen it up a little bit. Try not to be so perfect with the wave. Even allow yourself a little bit of free movement here. And if you are more of a free movement, loosey-goosey, then maybe articulate the movement a little bit more. We'll do a couple more rounds. Last round. Take your time, but on the next inhale, you'll come to more of a neutral position for the spine. So we want to acknowledge all the natural curves that we've got in the spine for at least 1, maybe 2 full breaths. And then we'll bring the knees in closer toward the midline to help with balance. Make sure we're rooting into all those fingertips. As we take the right leg back and up, we're going to keep this knee bent so we get some engagement there in the hamstring. And then we'll take the knee off to the side. When we bring the knee back to center, bring it slightly forward. You're going to feel those deep lower abdominal muscles fire back up. And then you're basically hitting those 3 points, but in a more circular fashion. Movement, we're not correlating the breath with the movement, but you might find an organic connection to your breath. Just make sure you're not holding the breath in or out. We're going to do one more round. Stay on this leg. Switch the direction that you're rotating in. And every once in a while, make sure you're checking in with your breathing pattern. You want to get as healthy and like a wide range of motion as you can, and go slow enough where you do feel some articulation there in the joints, kind of exploring what those boundaries are. We'll do one last round on this side, and then we'll bring the knees stacked right next to each other. Shift the body weight, make minor adjustments there in the upper half of the body before taking the left leg up. Keep a little engagement in that hamstring. Knee off to the side, center and forward. And then as you continue with this, just check in with that right arm. Now your body weight is going to definitely shift more to one side, but sometimes there's a tendency to bend that right elbow or like kind of sink into that shoulder. Keep the back muscles pretty supportive here, and think of those arm bones also being a supportive factor. And then reverse the direction. Last full round on this side, no rush. When that left knee comes down, you're going to take the knees hip width distance apart, feet hip width distance apart, and curl the toes under. Then move your hands so that they're a few inches in front of your shoulders, so that when you move your hips forward and shoulders go over the wrist, you've got a modified plank pose. So the knees are further back behind your hips. You keep that navel firm. When you start to exhale, move the hips back toward the wall behind you. Now you're going to feel a couple of things going on here. You're going to find more of a posterior tilt to the pelvis. You're going to find more of an internal rotation with the upper leg bones. So we just want that to happen naturally. We're not forcing anything. We just want to bring more awareness to that. Take one breath here once you're in that shape. See if there's any tension deep in the hip that you can let go of. And then we're going to move back and forth. So it's a pretty simple exercise where you're taking that modified plank pose on the inhale, coming out of the flexion in the hip, and then going back into the flexion in the hip. You feel more like the belly is coming down toward the thighs. So lower belly is coming down toward the thighs. And then go back and forth a few times. Just want to loosen up the hips here. All those deep muscles attaching to the leg bone, up to the hip structure, muscles around the sacrum. And then this last one, we'll take another 1 or 2 breaths. So once you're back here, take 1 or 2 more breaths. Don't force the posture though. Think more about holding the shape that you're in instead of pushing the hips back further. Focus on letting go of gripping and relaxing the hips. And then we'll come forward one more time on the inhale and then back into downward facing dog. And then we're going to get both feet forward toward the front edge of the mat. You can do this through lunging, you can do this through hopping. One foot forward, the other foot follows. Feet hip width distance apart, parallel. Come up halfway to lengthen. Ardha Uttanasana. You're going to deepen the forward fold now. Relax the neck muscles. Grab opposite elbows or twine the arms around each other so that you can really let the arms feel heavy when you start to relax the shoulder blade muscles. As you start to relax those upper back and neck muscles, the head will start to feel heavier. Bend the knees as much as you'd like here. If it feels better to bend your knees, it gives you more access to different areas in the posterior chain or the back line of your body. Go ahead and explore what that's like to bend the knees a bit more. And also for the last couple of breaths here, check in with the soles of your feet. See if you can feel more rooted in the ball mount of your big toe, ball mount of your pinky toe, and the very center of your heel. Ball mount of pinky toe, not the tip of the toe, the ball mounts of the pinky toe and big toe and center of your heel. We're going to relax the arms. Feel strong legs, belly, and back when you sweep the arms to the side to come all the way up. Keep the gaze downward just in case there's any dizziness. Hands go over the head at the very end, and then end up with arms alongside the body in Tadasana. Make sure the knees aren't locked out. You have a strong connection awareness from the shoulder girdle to your rib cage, down to your hip structure, and again down into the soles of your feet. Take a couple breaths there. Soft gaze at one point. Notice how the body is responding to the breath. All right. Start on a salutation. As you inhale, take the arms up. You lean back here, you might engage the glutes. As you exhale, take a forward fold. Leave the chest on the way down. Relax the neck at the end. Ardha Uttanasana. Inhale halfway up. Right foot goes back into a runner's lunge as you exhale. Back knee down for a moment. Sweep arms up into lunging crescent moon on the inhale. As you exhale, we're going to take the right hand to the floor. Left arm goes forward, then down. We're going to sweep that left arm past the hip, straighten your back leg. Take the twist toward the left arm up. Take that left arm in reverse, down and back, knee down. Take both arms forward, up, and slightly back. This is our breath in. And as we exhale, we'll take the forward fold, strong hip and belly. Right foot forward, line the toes up. And inhale all the way up. Lean back just for that one breath in. We're going to go right into the forward fold, starting on the second side. Next inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, left foot back, runner's lunge. Inhale, lunging crescent moon. Exhale, arms down, left hand to the floor, right arm sweeps in that full circle, straighten the back leg, lengthen as you twist, and then back in reverse with the right arm. That range of motion there for the shoulder joint, ending back in lunging crescent moon. And then a forward fold on the exhale, left foot forward. All the way up as you breathe in. Back into Tadasana. Add a side stretch in here. Don't lean back. Inhale, arms up. Grab the right wrist with your left hand. Lean towards your left. Hip shift to the right. Keep that lower front rib cage in the body. As you inhale, come back to center. Grab the left wrist. Exhale, lean towards your right. Hip shifts to the left. Inhale, center. Deep forward fold. Hinge at the hip. Inhale, halfway up. Right foot goes back. Exhale, exhale, exhale. And lunging crescent moon on the inhale. Lengthen as you sink the hip. Twist. Right hand down, left arm full circle, strong back leg. And keep that left arm back in reverse, ending up in lunging crescent moon as you inhale. And exhale, right foot forward. All the way up just for a breath in. Right into the forward fold on the exhale. Ardha Uttanasana. Left foot back. Lunging crescent moon. You might be moving a little faster or slower than me at this point now that you're familiar with the sequence. Take the twist on your exhale. You're going to come out of that twist on your inhale now. So follow your breath with your movement. And get back in lunging crescent moon. And then left foot ends up forward in a forward fold. And on your inhale, you come all the way up. This time we can lean back a little bit and end up in Tadasana. Let's take a couple resting breaths here. On this round, we're going to do the same thing. But what I want to encourage you to do, now that you're more familiar with the sequence, right, we'll keep the side stretch in. So I want you to really connect your breath with your movement a bit more. Feel your body moving through space. Pay more attention or set the intention of your breath initiating the movement and supporting the movement. So these are all things like when we're taking a class where we have a little bit more experience, it's not always just about doing hard things or challenging ourselves physically, but allowing ourselves to go a little bit further into what the physical practice can do for us on a subtle level. And if we're always pushing, then there's less attention on the subtle body. So I want you to take advantage of being pretty familiar with the sequence. And I'm going to do it with you in case you need to follow along. I'll do some verbal cueing, but I really want you to take the opportunity to move through the sequence in a way that has more kind of like a visceral experience, right? So pay attention to how your body's moving through space, how the breath is feeling, all of those things. So let's take an exhalation in Tadasana, root to those 3 points of the feet. On your next inhalation, arms go up, and grab the right wrist and lean to the left. Leaning on the exhale, remember. Back through on the inhale. On your exhale, you lean to the right. Center. Forward fold. You might be moving a little faster than me, that's okay. Ardha Uttanasana. Let's start with our right foot back, if you haven't already. Crescent moon. Take that twist. Lengthen as you twist from the waist. Feel that breath, initiate that movement. Find some fluidity, softness, and stability. And when we're switching sides, we're just going to take that one breath in, stretch the hip and navel before taking the second side. If you add in a shape, if you add in a breath, whatever. Make it your own. Don't overthink things. Don't self-doubt. Take your time. We'll all be back up in Tadasana. And let's take a couple resting breaths for observation. Eyes softly look at one point. Help quiet the mind. And focus. Alright. Let's face the long edge of the mat next. We'll take a pretty wide stance. If our arms are out to a T formation, ankles would be almost toward the wrists, almost to the wrists, definitely past the elbows. All the toes point straight ahead, line those toes up. And then we'll interlock the fingers behind the hips for our Prasarita Padottanasana. Once you have all this, take the hinge at the hip. Feel the stretch on the way in. Hold the shape. If you have more availability in the shoulders, your hands might be lifting up further away from the hips. Just make sure you're not creating any undue stress in the shoulder joint. As we breathe in, strong legs, belly, and back. Come up. Release the hands. We'll keep this wide stance. You're going to turn your left toes to the short edge, right toes in. We want about a heel to heel alignment. Bend the left knee. Got Virabhadrasana 2. Shoulders nice and squared off toward the long edge of the mat. And a soft gaze goes toward that left middle finger. Remember these dristis, or these one pointed tension with the eyes. Really helpful to establish a more focused mind. Feel settled there at the base of the pelvis. Keep working on this side, straightening the right leg, and then when you exhale, take triangle pose. Right hand will go anywhere lower than the knee. Lower belly firm. Now we switch the gaze, if it's comfortable for the neck, up toward the right thumb. Think about having a strong right leg from the hip. So instead of just locking the knee out or over activating the quadricep muscle, the thigh, think about stabilizing from the hip and take that connection awareness into the sole of the right foot. And next inhale will come up. You can rest the arms, hands on the hips, switch the feet. Bhadhrasana 2, settle into hips, ribcage over hips, shoulders squared off, right knee in the same plane or track as your toes. Checking with the basics, work from the ground up. And stabilize the shape without feeling rigid or stiff. Notice if there's any unnecessary tension in the body that you can relax. Notice how that plays out in the physical body. It might even affect your breathing pattern. Stay on the same leg. Straighten it without locking the knee out. And triangle pose. You're going to feel a little bit more of a twisting action, remember, in the spine with triangle pose. Soft gaze at one point, whether it's toward the horizon or up toward your left thumb. Check in also with that awareness that we brought in on the other side, stabilizing from the hip and making that connection from hip into the sole of the left foot. Inhale to come up. Relax the arms and the feet will go parallel. You might need to adjust the feet a little bit in terms of the distance. For me, I'm just going to leave the ball mount, my big toes where they're at, but bring the heels in slightly. And you might need to take a shorter or wider stance. You'll see for horse stance, the next step is to bend the knees, sink into the base of your pelvis. Knees go in the same track as the toes, so make adjustments there with toes, hips, leg bones. You're going to settle down into the hips about parallel to the floor with the thighs. Lower belly's firm. Don't try to tuck the tailbone here. When you engage the navel, it's going to start to happen a little more naturally. And then palms together in front of the chest. Root through the ball mounts of the big toe and heel here. I'm just breathing. Make that connection from hip into the sole of the foot. 5 more seconds. And then straighten both legs. Now I'm going to take the heels wider than the pinky toes. Take the forward fold, hands to the floor. Use blocks if needed. And then we'll start to heel toe the feet out a little wider, as wide as we can go without any struggle or strain. Working toward Salutation. Now, even though this is more of like kind of like a passive stretch where we want to feel that relaxation in the hip, I still want you to be aware of that connection from hip into the sole of the foot. So be aware of that connection, even though we're not planting into the sole of the foot like we were with those standing postures. Just be aware of that connection. Take a couple more breaths here. And Engage the deep muscles in the hip structure before heel-toeing the feet toward each other. Just enough so that we don't feel any stretch here. Feet will definitely be wider than the shoulders still. You're going to come onto the ball mounts of the toes. Heels are going to lift. Start walking the hands off towards your right. Let your toes, fingers, and the crown of your head all go in the same direction. You're going to keep going 180 degrees around. So you're going to be facing the back long edge of the mat, where your right knee is going to be on top of your left, and you're going to sit in between the heels. Now, if this is a lot for the knees, the hips feel really uneven, it's hard for you to keep your balance, place something under the hips, both hips, not just one side, and then find that position of settling into Gomukhya with the legs. And then, with our right leg on top, we're going to take our left arm up, right arm underneath, draw the fingertips toward each other along the spine, and we're going to do alternating swimmers. As you inhale, switch left arm up, right arm lowered. Exhale, fingertips toward the midline along the spine, and go back and forth here. Go at your own pace. Every inhale, we're making that switch, and every exhale, the fingertips draw toward each other, where for a lot of us, they're not going to touch. Treat this more like a mobility exercise where we're letting the repetition of the movement strengthen and free the joint up. There's no need to create the bind. One more. Good. And then when you finish that last round with the left arm up last, you're going to shift your body weight forward again, fingertips to the floor, curl the toes under, lift the hips away from the floor, start walking the hands off toward the left like you're going back to from where you started. You're going to keep going now, essentially 360 degrees around. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, until that right knee comes to the floor, and then the left knee sits on top of the right. Doesn't have to be perfectly matched or stacked over each other. One side might feel a little different than the other. Once you get this side, and if that movement, that transition wasn't working for you, just make sure the left leg's on top this time. Then we'll start off with the right arm up and left arm underneath, and then exhale, fingertips toward each other, and we start with the alternating swimmers. Do this movement, feel the rotation in the shoulder joint. As you bend the elbow, that top arm, feel that gentle stretch that we get for the tricep muscles. Just kind of getting more in tune to some of the muscles and how the joints are functioning with the movement. Last 4 rounds. Here's that last round. Left arm up. And you can shift the body weight forward again. So chest over knees. Hands to the floor. Curl toes under. Lift hips and start walking the hands off toward the right. Back where we started, facing the long edge of the mat. And then we start to heel toe the feet wider again. And we're going to do a second round of Samukhanasana. Oh my gosh. No struggle, no strain. Body weight and gravity have a role here. And hold the shape. Conscious breathing. Engage the deep muscles in the hip structure before heel-toeing the feet toward each other. Go into a runner's lunge facing the front edge of the mat. And then take that front foot back Find the top of a push-up and lower all the way to the floor. Once you're here, lengthen navel, bring the flat of the belly down. We'll take a few resting breaths in Vata. Crossing the wrists, place the chin on cross wrist, big toes touch so thighs start really close together, and let the knees, heels fall away from each other. Check in with your breathing pattern. Notice how your body's responding to the breath here. Lift the heart and head up. You're going to get the feet and legs more hip width distance apart and neutral. Take arms alongside the body at a slight angle with the palms on the floor. Keep palms on the floor. Engage glutes to lift feet up. Strong back to lift the heart up. And peel the front of the shoulders away from each other for locust pose. You're more comfortable with breath moving, creating movement in the upper back and chest. Lower down. Hands under shoulders. Push chest and belly away from floor. Top of a push-up. And then left knee behind left wrist, setting up for one-legged king pigeon. Settle into hips as evenly as you can. Remember, you always have the option of staying here on both palms, taking hands further back to get more length and lift as you get more extension in the spine. And I know some of you are out there reaching for either the outside or the inside of the back foot. Make sure it's the same side, so right foot's back, right hand is binding. And then starting to work with different variations for some of you is start taking the heel closer to the outer edge of the hip, maybe getting the rotation in elbow and wrist. And taking this option here. If you're familiar with any other binding options and they're available to you at this point, feel free to take those now. We'll be here for a few more breaths once you get settled into the shape that works for you. All those variations, we're going to keep that lift to the chest, maintain some extension in the spine without resting in the lower back. Next, inhale, release the bind, be careful with the back knee. Just get both palms firmly planted again, wrist shoulder width distance, take body weight out of hips. Top of the push-up to reset. And then switch sides. Leg forward, settle into hips as evenly as you can. And whatever variation you practice on the last side, do your best to do on this side. Check in once you have whatever bind you're working with, and that length in the torso, like you're drawing the ribcage away from the hip. Doesn't have to be leaning the torso back. Lengthening and lifting, and have more of a soft forward movement with the chest. Bind. Take your time. If you need another breath or two in there, feel free. We're going to reset in plank pose. And then bring both knees, one at a time, forward so that they're about as wide as your mat. Big toes touch. And sit back on the heels. And at this point, if you need something under the hips, like a block, bolster, a combination of props, For Bhadhrasana, probably take that first step of taking the hands back so that the arms are supportive, lifting the chest and taking the lean back here. You take the next step, you might lift hips, tuck the tailbone a little bit so that we gain some length in the lower back before taking forearms down. Sometimes people are right in between this phase and the floor. You might use a bolster under head and spine, or coming all the way down to the floor. When the spine and head are supported by something, whether a bolster or the floor, then you can choose to either have arms alongside the body with the palms up, or you can grab opposite elbows above your head. What I want you to pay attention to is if taking your arms above your head excessively puts your rib cage into like this front flare, I want you to consider taking the arms back down and working just a little bit. Doesn't have to be really intense, but just work a little bit on keeping the front rib cage down a little bit. And that's only if it's excessive. You take the arms up, it's going to happen a little bit. But then once you do that kind of adjustment, the arms down, you might then see what happens when you take the arms back up. Are you able to maintain that? Are we able to access more of what's going on for the shoulder than just letting that front lower rib cage flare up? So just, again, a little refinement, something you can maybe be aware of. One more breath here in Bhadhrasana. And if you're all the way down, you might tuck the fingertips underneath the shins, give you a little more leverage on the elbows to come up halfway. One palm takes you the rest of the way up. Strong navel there. And then once you're in upright position, if you have any props, you can move those off to the side. And then we'll come forward, take legs back, come onto the forearms, wrist, forearms, shoulder width distance apart. And once you have that position, get shoulders directly over the elbows. Push into the forearms, and then extend the legs back for a low plank. Want that lower rib cage and the muscles around there really firm. You can bring the knees down at any point you can. You're just going to take about 10 more seconds here. Knees down, walk hands back, rib cage over hips for camel pose. Lots of options here. You can have the tops of the feet to the floor, you can have the toes curled under, you can take the knees a little wider, you can reach back for the heels, you can have hands on the hips. So take your time. Hands starting on the hips here is always a good plan to get the hips forward, lengthen rib cage, broadening collarbones. You start to lean back. Notice how that feels for the spine, the front line of the body. And then from there you can choose to either reach back for heels or keep hands on hips. Remember, you can curl the toes under here. If you do reach back for the heels and you lose a little bit of those first three components, then once you have the bind, see if you can regain some of those back, lengthening the front line. Very end here is where we lengthen the front of the throat if it's comfortable for the neck. Strong hips, belly, head forward last. Take a breather, make sure there's no dizziness. And then we'll bring the forearms back down. And with the forearms, wrist, shoulder width distance apart again, we'll curl the toes under, root through the forearms and palms, and then take dolphin pose. Hips up, knees slightly bent, chest toward legs, gaze in between the forearms or elbows.
Now bring the knees down. You can decide, for some of us, if like camel pose or some of the other back bending felt pretty intense and you want to further compensate the spine before jumping up into an inversion, please take a moment to do that for yourself. It could be something like plank pose, it could be child's pose, another downward facing dog, another dolphin, something like that brings a little more flexion into the hip. And then from there, or from here, we'll take forearm balance, pinch Vajrasana. If you're familiar with working with scorpion pose in pinch Vajrasana and would like to take that next step, bring the tops of the feet toward the head, feel free to take that moment. Remember, we do have options for working with preparatory exercises for inversions. You can do a one-legged dolphin pose, basically coming from the same shape. It's a little mat work here. You don't have a lot of wall space at home. This still gives you feet over hips, hips over heart, and heart over head. And if you have a sturdy piece of furniture or a wall space, you can always bring the feet up against the wall. Space. If you're up and staying up, if you know the posture, feel free to begin if you haven't already. Just giving some people options that might be kind of new, or maybe you're not feeling that comfortable doing an inversion at home by yourself, and that's okay. Do some mat work. Get those same benefits where we're getting a little more oxygenated blood to the brain, a little more venous blood to the lungs. Take your time, anywhere between 6 to 10 full breaths there once you're up and staying up. Do 2 rounds if you like. Make sure you take those resting breaths when you do come out, either sitting in an upright position or child's pose. Especially if you've moved your way from your original place in the room, you want to make sure you take some resting breaths, let the heart and breath regulate before you move back to where you started in class. If you move toward a wall or something. And then we'll meet up back on the mat in a seated position with the legs extended in front. Settle into hips. Remember, always prop the hips up and or bend the knees here. For staff pose, you're going to start about 1 inch behind the hips. Fingertips or palms are firmly planted depending on relationship and length of torso and arms. Once you get that support of the arms, make sure we're maintaining strength along the spine with those deep muscles that ride along the spine. Lower belly is firm and a soft gaze so that the distance goes towards the big toes. Take the weight away from the arms. We'll keep the left leg extended, bend right knee, bring the sole of right foot to the inside of left thigh for Janu Sirsasana. So into hips, lengthen, hinge at the hip, take a bind that works for you, maybe at the base of the calf. Sometimes people bridge the gap between hand and foot with a yoga strap or a towel. If you're able to reach for the foot without overstretching the upper back or stressing the lower back out, you take that bind, settle into the shape. No struggle, no strain. Neck back with your breathing.
bring torso up. Keep the legs where they're at. Nice long feeling in the torso before you add the twist toward the right. Right arm can come back to support the length in the torso. Make sure the left toes are pointing straight up. Left arm upper back supports the twist. Once you have all those components, then we take revolving head to knee pose. Right arm up alongside ear and lean over that extended leg. Remember, I give people options here. If the shoulder feels a little stuck, if you feel like it's just kind of jammed up there, go ahead and bend your right elbow. Take the hand to the base of your skull and feel more like you're lengthening the elbow away from the rib cage than trying to take the arm back into like more flexion. So just kind of relieve that shoulder joint a bit, so we're maintaining pretty decent stretch and not just compensating or jamming up the shoulder joint. Your choice. If there's any other binding options that you have here with grabbing the left foot with left hand or right arm goes over, feel free to take those binding options. Just make sure you maintain those three components of flexion in the left hip, lateral stretch for the right side, and a twist for the waist. On the next inhale, we'll come up and out. We'll switch the legs, even up the hips. Counter Sirsasana first, so we'll take the forward fold over the right leg. Get the left leg in place, lengthen, forward fold. Find the bind that works for you. Settle into the shape. Find that balance of feeling like there's a level of integrity to the pose or shape that you're creating. And we always want to remind ourselves this is not about looking like me or fancy Yogi Journal Instagram pictures, but the integrity is more of the feeling that you're getting on the inside and letting the shape revolve pretty much around that and making the adjustments where you need to, so that the practice is as meaningful as it can be for you. Up, inhaling, and then we'll take the twist. Long, long torso, twist from the waist, settle into the hips at the same time. Take a moment in the twist before adding the side stretch. And when you're ready, different arm positions and binding options are out there. Relax your jaw, relax your eyes. Back to center, up when you're ready. And once both legs are extended, you'll bend both knees to get hips toward heels and then come on to the back. Bent knees, feet wide, about mat width distance apart. Arms T formation, palms up. And we'll take an easy windshield wiper. Knees to the right, head turns to the left, back to the center, switch sides. I'm going to give you some leeway here. There's a couple options. Correlating the breath with movement, inhaling, chin, knees, center, exhale, knees to one side, head turn to the other side.
You can move slower than that breathing pattern. You might even hang out on one side. Kind of feel out this movement along your spine, hip, upper back, neck, and relax your jaw, eyes. Shoulders are pretty heavy, arms pretty relaxed through the movement, or if you're staying there statically. Find your way back to center. If you take right hand on the navel, left fingertips or hand on the sternum. Let the feet be wide, let the knees fall in toward each other. Take a few breaths here. After a couple of rounds of just breathing naturally and being aware of the movement in your torso when you're breathing in and out, next 3 breaths, I want you to exhale through the mouth super slow, almost like a long sigh. I want you to exhaust all the breath out. Keep the breath out and engage the muscles around your rib cage. This might feel a little weird or unfamiliar to you. You're keeping the breath out for another 1 second or 2 seconds. And then inhale through the nose. And even though you're allowing that ribcage to move a little bit, just be aware of you not allowing it to just completely relax. We keep just a little engagement. You're going to exhale through the mouth again. As you exhale, you might be more aware of those core muscles, kind of like those girdle muscles that wrap around the abdominal wall to the rib cage. Keep the breath out just for like maybe 3 or 4 seconds, 5 at the most. And firming up those core muscles in the torso. And then inhale through the nose, keeping some awareness of those core muscles. You might notice more expansion in the back of your body when you do this. And then 1 last round. Exhale, 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 exhale all the breath out. Relax your jaw, relax your neck. Make sure you're not tensing up any unnecessary muscles. We hold for that breath out for 5 seconds. And then relax now. Arms alongside the body. Take that breath in. And notice if you have more awareness as you're breathing in to all sides of your torso, all sides of your body, front, back, and sides when you're breathing in now. You can take a moment to take any other posture or simple movement that you feel would bring further compensation into your body, muscles, joints. Or if you set yourself up in any particular way for corpse pose, something over the eyes, under the knees, or another layer of clothes to maintain body temperature.
Let's keep your attention as internal as possible as you do those things. Start to settle in, check in with muscles and hips, shoulder girdle, navel. Continue allowing all the muscles and the bones to give in to gravity. Use your inhalation to draw your attention inward. As you observe the breath and the sensations in your body, stay receptive to all that's within your highest good. Be receptive to all that's within your highest good. Healing, resolution, transformation. space around you. Start to take some deeper breaths in. Start to create some movement in the physical body. Slowly bring yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. You may want the hips a little higher than the knees. We'll do something a little different today than pranayama that we typically take. But feel free after class today, if you really connect with that breathing technique, Samavikti Nadi Shortana, to do that technique after we do this exercise. It can elevate that practice. So if you're feeling like in the mood for a longer pranayama session, and if you're familiar with that breathing technique, you can do that technique for like another 5 or 10 minutes after this. It's a little bit more of an awareness exercise that we're going to do. What I've been working on is working with creating not just awareness, but becoming more aware of any compression in relation to our respiratory muscles. And so there's let's say there's 8 quadrants that we're going to focus on. And so you've got the front, which has 4, and the back of the body, which has 4. And where we're going to divide those up is you've got your upper rib cage area here in the front, and then your lower, think about the lower rib cage area, kind of like below the sternum point, and those rib cage, and then just a little bit below. So you've got that quadrant, those 4 quadrants. So you have lower front and upper front. And then the same thing goes for the back. When you think about the upper back quadrants, left and right, you're considering the shoulder blade area more. And once you get past or lower than those shoulder blade muscles, then you're getting into those lower quadrants. And if they could go just below those lower rib cage area as well. So those are the quadrants that we're going to focus on. We're going to take one at a time. We're going to work with a little bit of breath retention. You don't have to hold the breath out for a long period of time or in for a long period of time. But it just helps to bring more awareness and attention into one particular area. And then through that retention, when we take that next breath in, after an external breath retention, we might have a little bit more of that expansive quality. So what we're looking for is expansion in each of these quadrants. And you might feel that there's more compression in one area over the other. And that's just, something that we want to bring our awareness to, because as we change our breathing pattern, right, and these respiratory muscles, that can start shifting the way that we access the spine and different joints, our hips and our shoulder girdle. So all the intellectual stuff now can just go away. And then we're going to get more into feeling. I want you to close your eyes, start to focus on just breathing naturally. You don't have to correlate the breath. You don't have to count the breath to yourself or anything like that. Start to heighten your awareness of how the body is responding to your breathing. I'm going to start with the front of the body, because that, like I said earlier, is usually an area that we're more aware of. So we're going to start there. It's a little easier to bring our attention and do this exercise with. And we're going to draw our attention to the upper right quadrant. So start to focus on your upper right quadrant, upper rib cage. Take a couple natural breaths with awareness there. This is how we'll do each quadrant. Soften where you can. And then on your next exhale, keep the breath out for just maybe 3 seconds, 5 seconds at the most. and feel that engage a little bit. It's going to be very subtle. You don't have to compress the front line of the body or anything like that. But then after that breath retention, take your breath in with the intention of expansion. And we're just doing that a couple times in each quadrant. And that's the exercise. So do that one more time with the external breath retention. And then if it's comfortable, you can even add a short internal breath retention. So you can even add a short internal breath retention as an option to like maintain that feeling of expansion in that upper right ribcage area. And then we're going to move to the left upper quadrant. Take a couple natural breaths. And get as much involved like with your awareness of the rib cage moving as you can. So we want to get into those deep muscles that are associated with the respiratory system. Those deep muscles that are part of the rib cage. So we're really getting involved with the respiratory system. Again, we're adding a short external breath retention. We get a little more contraction or feeling like we're just aware of those muscles. And then the inhale, we feel the expansive quality of the inhalation come into that quadrant. And then maybe even take a couple 3-second internal breath retention to like maintain or feel, kind of settle in to that expansive quality. Then we're going to move to the right lower rib cage. So again, don't get too far into like the lower belly area with this. Again, we're affecting the respiratory muscles. So feel more of that lower rib cage area. Once you have your awareness there, start with the breath retention. If you're starting to notice one quadrant feels a little less available to you or less expansive, and we're increasing that awareness of maybe where we're holding general compression in our body. And we can take that awareness into all of our postures. So if there's a posture that feels like it's affecting that area, whether it's a lateral stretch or back bend, we can then be more aware that we're compressed in that area of the body. And this is how we can heighten our potency when we're doing physical practice. And then move over to the left lower quadrant. Establish awareness. Left lower front. Little breath retention. Remember, it doesn't have to be a lot of force when we've got that external breath retention. Just want to contract a little bit and be aware of those same muscles on the inhale. Okay, now we're going to move to the back. We're going to move to the upper right back quadrant. Establish awareness. With some breath retention for a couple of breaths. Just doing this at your own pace. I don't want you to feel like you need, not leading you through this step by step in the way of like every breath, because I want you to just be in tune to your own body and sensations. Notice when we draw our attention to the back, it's more challenging, and we want to keep our attention in the front line of the body. That's very common, so just be aware of that and through practice, we start to become more proficient at bringing attention into the back body. That might also be because there's more compression back there too. And then when you're done with that, go to the upper left back quadrant. Now, when you're done with that side, that quadrant, move to your lower right back quadrant. Sometimes if we have lower back issues, or if we've had past injuries or surgery or something with the hip on that side or that part of that spine, sometimes we do become more aware of sensations or compression or something like that. That kind of like our awareness will drift lower, and that's fine. Just know that we don't want to lose attention on that lower right rib cage in the back. Done with that quadrant, we move to the last quadrant, lower left back rib cage. Establish awareness, and then take a couple of breaths with the breath retention. As long as it's comfortable for you. If the breath retention doesn't feel good, it's not absolutely necessary for the practice to be effective. You're done with that final quadrant. You now focus on the breath and be aware of the whole torso. Think of being aware of all 8 of those quadrants when you're breathing in and out. At first, it might feel like you're putting a lot of physical effort into the breath when we bring our awareness to all 8 quadrants that way. And if that's happening, that's pretty common. Do your best to continue softening, right, that physical effort and keep cultivating more of that awareness. So we want to elevate our awareness and decrease the physical effort. Particularly check in, make sure you're not turning on neck muscles, turning on jaw muscles, things like that are pretty common when we're inhaling for people to like tighten up their neck. Keep the neck soft, keep the jaw relaxed, keep the eyes soft, and draw awareness more to those respiratory muscles in the rib cage area. Wrap class up, but again, feel free to, after class, to continue sitting, doing another breathing exercise, and take longer time for maybe concentration or meditation. Whereas we'll bring the palms together in front of the heart center. Let's take a moment for reflection and gratitude. It moves through our hearts and our minds. We'd like to acknowledge and give thanks for. Seal the practice by chanting Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Inhale. Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all beings, without one exception, know peace and be released from suffering. So it is, and so it shall be. So open the eyes. Thanks for joining me today. As always, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.